Primitive Life, a novel by Louise Richardson. Chapter 7, Trials and Tribulations, Part 3. Harvey Llewellyn looked up from his laptop on Faye Nordstrom's dining room table and said, "Sweetheart, we need a break." Harvey was half toying with her affections, half serious about her. He was comfortable with Faye, and she was his meal ticket, or maybe something more. The new book was on track, the publisher was enthusiastic about its prospects, and both Harvey and Faye had a goal to work toward, a project they could sink their teeth into, and a distraction from grief for one of them, and a distraction from guilt for the other. Still, Harvey was contemplating his impending success and starting to think in terms of being among the idle rich. When the book was a hit, he would dump his unsatisfying life of teaching bored post-teenagers and probably dump his new love interest as well and be the new Hemingway of the science set, sipping rum and composing nonfiction masterpieces in some tropical locale. "Sure," she said, putting down her latest test papers. "Want some coffee?" "No coffee. And I don't just mean take 5, he told her, standing to stretch his legs. "I mean really get away. We can write and grade papers, and we can sip margaritas on the beach." "It's March," she informed him. "There's still a cold wind on the beach." "You think too small, my dear. I don't mean Padre Island. I'm talking the Bahamas." "Do you think we should?" "Spring break is coming up. It will be the perfect time, and I've already made reservations." The Galveston County Crime Lab looked into the new slant on the case evidence Leah Pollock had proposed to Libby Jakes. The defense portion of the trial had a temporary respite as the local scientists and technicians rethought the clues and objects they had previously processed. If 10:04 was not the time of the murder, then what was the time of the murder? Were there other findings to be had from the evidence? Everything was checked again with new eyes. The blow to the skull, the frying pan, the little audio recorder. Perhaps they had missed a few nuances, having falsely supposed a certain time for the crime. They had not paid much attention to Mrs. Sharp's medical report, but maybe there was something in that too. Sheriff Henderson. Just when you think things are settled, somebody throws a monkey wrench into the works. The lab boys are going over the evidence in that beach murder case again. What do you know, they found something. No fingerprints on the little audio recorder somebody tampered with, but damned if they didn't find some on the batteries inside it that were not from the victim. Seen it happen before with bullets and a gun. The piece wiped clean, but the bullets with nice clear damning prints. And the old lady didn't do it. Oh, she hit the guy all right, and he probably deserved it for diddling her little girl. Might have known she didn't have the strength to put him away. Turns out she has arthritis. Forensics now show 2 blows to the head of the victim. The second one had a man's strength behind it, and the fingerprints on the AAAs didn't match the old lady's either. Well, Otto and the boys can close the case without me. I'm bound for Afghanistan. Where the hell is that? Somewhere by India, I guess. Kuwait, Iraq, Afghanistan in one lifetime. What's next? Well, I'm in the Guard. The National Guard says you go to hell and fight. You go. Do your duty for your country as best you can. I hope Bush knows what he's doing, though. I voted for him. but he seems dumber than when he was governor. Told Jan that Dennis could stay with her when I'm gone. Hell, she misses the little shit. His faggy Brit buddy and his faggy buddy's limey folks are driving him down soon as he's ready to travel. Hope he's recovered and gone by the time I come back. Won't deal with that. Just won't. Not after eating dust all those months in the middle of nowhere. Sheriff Henderson, a former Houston policeman, had won election as sheriff of Galveston County on an anti-corruption platform. Although his Democratic opponent, a respected local deputy, had never been implicated in the bribery scandal that focused on his boss, who was forced into retirement, the good citizens of Galveston County had wanted a clean sweep. Hal fired the whole law enforcement staff except for old Hollis, who he kept on part-time when he took office. He hired a bunch of green kids right out of college and Otto Schmidt from the Texas City Constabulary. Altogether, their combined years of experience did not add up to Hal's. It was their time to shine, or it was their time to fail. Much was riding on Otto's young, muscular shoulders. Looking more like a lifeguard than a sheriff, he led two of his best fellow deputies from the seawall to the hill country. They interviewed the usual suspects again. That's how Otto met Leah Pollock. Of course, Leah and Otto had seen each other that morning on the beach, the morning after the murder. But Otto had interviewed some of the other campers. Leah had noticed him, though. He had literally turned her head. He remembered her, too, and even though he had not consciously thought of her in more than a year, he now hoped that he would get the chance to take her statement. Bob and George could take the others. Leah was his. For her part, Leah had gone ahead with her life. She was dating students now. She had had enough of professional flings. She would pick on someone her own age from now on. Leah had had enough of sand and surf, too, for a while anyway. She spent her spring break back home in Round Rock. There was no romance on the beach, but there were the clubs in Austin and margaritas she could get everywhere. Leah even went out with Barry, her ex-squeeze, a couple of times. Mostly, though, she was unattached, and that was fine with her. She didn't mind spending time at home with her folks, hanging out with the homies, teaching her little sister Sarah about makeup and hairstyles. In the words of Duke Ellington, or was it Billy Strayhorn, she was copacetic. Back in school again, it was business as usual, except that she was on her third biology instructor this year. It didn't hurt that it was Professor Elizabeth Danton. There was no temptation there. Well, there had not been any temptation with Dr. Llewellyn either. What Mrs. Nordstrom could see in him was beyond Leah's ken. Whatever happened to those two anyway? They seemed to vanish during spring break. No one ever said why. She was in the dorm lobby watching Survivor on the tube, sipping a Coke from a paper cup, and almost gagging when she saw a cowboy who was waiting on his date spit snuff into a similar paper cup, when a lifeguard in khaki and a badge stepped up to her. "Leah Pollock," he asked. "Where do I know you from?" she asked back. "I'm with the Galveston County Sheriff's Department." Right. Is this still about the same case? I know they dropped the charges against Mrs. Sharp. Are there other suspects?" That's why I'm here. I swear I was in my tent all night. No, not you. I just need to ask a few more questions. Who then? We can't say yet. The investigation is ongoing. Look, could we talk it over supper, maybe? Well, unless you have other plans for tonight, then we could meet tomorrow. I'll check my calendar, she said, pretending to check her personal digital assistant. Nope, looks like I'm free. We passed this little steak and seafood place just outside of town. Would that do? Tommy's Surf and Turf? That's fine with me. Good. Pick you up here at 9, say? Make it 8:30. Leah hoped she didn't sound too eager. See you then. Yes, she said only to herself. End of Part 3, Chapter 7, Trials and Tribulations. Primitive Life, a novel by Louise Richardson.